The Israeli military has sent aid groups in Gaza updated maps showing an expanded restricted zone. A so-called orange line now marks a new restricted area covering about 11% of Gaza beyond the yellow line. Israel says the zone is meant to facilitate aid deliveries and that aid groups must coordinate movements with the military. Together with other Israeli-held areas, nearly two-thirds of Gaza is now under Israeli control. Let's go now to Tareq Abu Azzoum. He's joining us now from Gaza City. So is it clear to people what sort of restrictions are on people who live in this area that's now covered by an orange line?
Well, let me start first, Sammy, by illustrating for our viewers what is the new orange line. In fact, it's a newly expanded military boundary established by the Israeli military this year, and it's basically extending beyond the previous yellow demarcation line that has been imposed after October 2025 ceasefire between Hamas and Israel to deepen military control. It covers an additional 11% of Gaza's territory, bringing roughly 60% of the strip under restricted military areas. Officially, we can say that this new orange line is serving as a new line that basically requiring and defining areas that requiring coordination for humanitarian aid, but it effectively operates as a high-risk area. We continue to hear from UN agencies that this line, along with the yellow demarcation line, further restricts the movement of aid teams and creates more congestion in a small shrinking coastal area. But what makes this new orange line, let's say, more alarming is the absence of any warning signs or visible and physical boundaries that we can see here on the ground. People do not know, in fact, where they can go or where this line, in fact, starts and ends, which triggers and fuels more cycles of uncertainty for families, not just only living near the orange line, but also near the yellow demarcation line. We continue to get testimonies from people who are living near that area, and they are saying that they are witnessing repeated gunfire and there are ongoing systematic obliteration operations taking place for what remains of Gaza's residential houses in the yellow zone. So both elements are really complicating daily living conditions for many Palestinians, which makes survival every day is completely complex for each person here in the territory.
And Tareq, how is this new orange line impacting the work of aid agencies?
Well, aid agencies say that they have been presented to a new line that requires previous coordination regarding the movement of aid trucks. But let us get back to square one regarding the numbers of aid trucks that must be allowed to access Gaza. The rates are less than what has been expected, and even the transfer of these much needed humanitarian supplies have been now restricted by new shifting military maps and corridors, along with lines that are reshaping the humanitarian sphere here in Gaza. They are saying that this will certainly impact on their ability to access lots of vulnerable areas that have been massively affected by the chronic shortages of food, water and medical supplies, and people on the ground are still quite caught in the grip of unrelenting humanitarian crisis that keeps pushing them beyond the edge of endurance. We have been talking to people on the ground to test their reaction regarding the new orange line, and what we have been hearing from them was really heartbreaking as uncertainty grows. In fact, let's take a listen.
When they put the yellow line, our dream became to go back to the Al Zaytun neighborhood, to Shuja'iyya, at least to go back to our homes. Our dreams are not that big, but they put the orange line and pushed us further away from Al Zaytun, from our land. They should remove the orange line and allow us to go back to our lands, to our homes, to the rubble that is ours. We have the right to pitch up our own tent there.
We were hoping to return, and now we see that they created another line, aside from the yellow line, now an orange one. What is this? They create lines every day, in colors. Until when?
These testimonies, in fact, Sami, reflect the growing sense of instability here in Gaza. People do not know which roads are quietly safe for them and where they can move next. And this gives a clear reflection on how shifting military maps and expanding restriction zones can redraw the daily living rhythms here in Gaza day by day and leaving people with fewer safe spaces and even fewer options to survive.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much, Tareq Abu Azzoum, reporting to us from Gaza City.